let's slow it down. I want to just spend a little time with these 3 gestures, what each of them is, a little bit more, and maybe give you one more example, then we'll practice together. So the first one is compassion and sometimes forgiveness. If what's going on, let's say what's going on is you've in some way caused harm to another person, it may be that rather than I'm sorry to that place in you that's agitated, that feels guilty or ashamed, you might just say, it's okay, honey, or sweetheart, that's my phrase, or forgiven, or in some way offer, understanding and care in a compassionate way. So that's the first one. And it's really a key one. In the Buddhist tradition, unless we forgive, we can't open our hearts in love. And most often when we're caught in trance, when we're in Zumbak suit, there's a sense of deficiency, like we're not doing it right. There's a self-consciousness. There's a sense of, in some way, I'm falling short. So if we don't unhook that second arrow, as they call it, the first arrow is whatever we're feeling, the second arrow is I'm bad for this. If we don't undo the I'm wrong feeling, we can't say I love you to ourselves or anybody. And I mean it by anybody. When the heart's at war, tight, closed against ourselves, the love is not there for anyone in the world. So the first step is in some way relaxing that tendency to turn against ourselves. It's okay. So often, if I can just catch that I'm down on myself and just even make the gesture, I put my hand on my heart because that's one of the gestures, but often I'll go like this with my hand on my cheek, as if just as a young child you're saying, it's really okay, honey. So I'd like to offer that as gesture number 1, just to kind of, you just can check it out. So in some way you're saying, it's okay. It's really okay. Whatever I'm criticizing, judging, down on myself for, on some level, there's some understanding, compassionate space that we can call on and say, it's okay. That's number 1. The second, I love you, is an active gesture inward that we rarely do, where we're saying the life that's right here, I cherish. We cherish this life just the way we cherish this tree or our child or our dog or this beautiful sunset. There's a cherishing. So in the moment that in some way we say, I love you, and sometimes we'll say, I love you, and what it'll bring up is how much we're hating ourselves. So it's not like it immediately brings up tenderness, but then we can bring that into mindfulness and begin to say, oh, I'm sorry, to that. Do you understand? It just begins to open it. It's really important, this second piece of actively offering, and this part is the hands on the heart, I love you. So we go from I'm sorry or forgiven to I love you. I'll read you Cassia Berman. She puts it this way. The Mother of the Universe refers to let me worship her outside myself anymore. She's withdrawn inside me and tells me that if I want to know her, I have to come inside too, which is the last place I want to be. Although she's been telling me for years, she's never gone to this extreme before of actually hiding inside me. If I want to love her, I can only do it by loving myself now. Gesture 2 is recognizing if we want to love this world, we have to love the life that's right here. And truly the world lives inside us. We discover that. Step 2. And I think it's really valuable to use the gestures just to kind of get the feeling of it. And step 3 is that thank you, that gratitude, that whenever we start touching into the love and the goodness, there's a natural, it can feel like devotion or gratitude or reverence or appreciation that springs up, which is the sweetness of the whole path. To feel that sense of this is so precious, so beautiful, so good, that gratitude. It's like my friend when he left the food line just saying, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. That appreciation for homecoming. And in that one, that's the devotional quality, and the palms together is the gesture. Now, I want to just say a word about these gestures. This is just something to experiment with. Each of these flavors of love are archetypal flavors of love. Compassion, the feelings of offering love directly, and the sense of appreciation or gratitude. For you to really explore this practice so that you can, in the midst of a day, just pull it out of your pocket and start letting that stream of clear water move through you and clear you, you're going to have to find the language, the images, and the gestures that match for you. It's your own experiment. I'm sharing gestures that happen to be very, very in use by many people. I mean, to feel gratitude and go like this is fairly archetypal gesture, but see for yourself. It may trigger off some old, going into church school or having to do something you didn't want to do. So check it out. So, whenever I'm teaching on a certain subject, I kind of track how I'm practicing in that particular way. And the most recent example I thought I'd share with you of how the three gestures really helped me. A couple of weeks ago, I was on the phone with my sister, and I'm about to leave and be part of our family's gathering on Cape Cod. And she asked me if midway through the week, if I'd be willing to drive her to Hyannis so she'd catch a bus. So it means about 2.5 hour round trip. And I agreed very haltingly. It was not entirely gracious. I kind of stumbled around on my agreeing. And she, of course, picked it up right away and said, well, maybe I could call a friend and have them, da-da-da-da. I said, no, I'll take you. But I kind of was in my mind saying, gosh, what if that's low tide? What if that's exactly when I'm going to want to be on the beach? I was not gracious and generous. Hung up the phone and got waves and waves of guilt because I had just recently visited her out in the Bay Area, and she, for about a week, was taking me everywhere. I mean, she was so generous and sweet. So I was just, I was in contortions on this one. And so that's when I just started saying, okay, it's okay, sweetheart. I didn't go like this. I just mostly just had my hands on my heart. But it's okay, sweetheart. I love you. Thank you. It's okay, sweetheart. It's okay. I love you. Thank you. Just the words just rolling through until there was a shift, and it wasn't the guilty person saying, now I can go be good, but a shift to just opening into the feeling of goodness, of just loving itself. So I can go do this, I can offer her that time. And there might be a part of me that's still computing, but it doesn't matter. And it's not because I'm being a good person. It's just because there's contact with the goodness of loving that's bigger than the ego self. And that is the essence of the three gestures, is that by intentionally bringing love to the life that's right here, heart presence, in those moments, we start dissolving the identification with Zombak suit. We're no longer that ego self that's our identity is around stories of what's wrong or who I need to be or what I should do. That starts dissolving. It's like sunshine on an ice cube. It's like we've identified where that block is. And as the sun shines, it starts dissolving and we become more fluid. And the who we are is bigger. And it's loving, and it's awake. So this is the shift in identity from the three gestures. And I started with the story of the Messiah on purpose, because it's not just our sense of identity that shifts. That as we melt and dissolve open by offering the gestures, as we forgive, as we offer love, as we feel that reverence, that prayerfulness, and as we sense an openness, we start looking at each other. And it's not a gamey thing anymore. Who's the Messiah? We just start seeing who's looking through the mask. What's looking through those eyes is the same awakeness, the same consciousness that's looking through these. That what's listening is the same awareness. that this heart space that we're in really is a heart space, that this love is kind of living through us. There's a beautiful saying that we're not humans on a spiritual path, but that we're spirit, we're that loving awareness waking up to realize ourselves through these forms. And these kind of gestures help remind us of that truth. It's not like they make us different. They help us come home to the truth of who we are. Okay, so let's try it. Let's practice a little bit. So just take a few full breaths, and as we did with the meditation, collect yourself so you can feel yourself here. And then this inquiry of, really, is there anything right now between me and full presence, really at home, in my body, my heart, my life? And you can expand that inquiry just to sense your life in these recent days. And just sense if there's anything going on that is triggering you in a way that keeps you from really resting in a larger sense of being, that gets you small, contracted, reactive. Might be something in a relationship with somebody where you get triggered. Some way that you're down on yourself, or some behavior, maybe an addictive behavior, something at work. Of course, when you're on your own practicing, you'd be practicing when something actually comes up, so that you can, right now, just imagine what it's like when you're feeling caught in that one, where you're feeling caught in the reactivity. Just for a moment, just to imagine, if you're talking to somebody and they're provoking you, the look on their face, or the tone of voice, or the situation that you're nervous about, whatever it is, and just sense the way you get contracted and reactive. You might even feel your body and notice what happens when you're in that reaction, whether it's anger or fear, whether you're down on yourself or down on another person. And let yourself just experiment now. You might experiment just putting your hand on your cheek, and let the touch be really light or tender. And just for a moment, sense what happens if you say, I'm sorry, or it's okay, or forgiven. So you're really calling on loving presence and just offering it to the place in you that feels, I'm wrong, I'm bad, I'm not okay. You're sending it right to the place that feels not okay. And you're basically saying, I'm sorry, or it's okay. Hear that mental whisper and just sense with sincerity that you can send that message. And continuing to feel the place in you that might be vulnerable or having a hard time. You might sense what happens if you put your hands on your heart and that gesture inward of I love you. Just hearing the words, I love you. And then thank you, if you'd like to put your palms together and just sense your appreciation that there is a path of homecoming. There is a way of coming home to the loving presence that's really your true nature. So with that, the palms are together. And know that you can continue to experiment with these gestures of love in whatever way resonates. I'm sorry. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. I love you. Thank you. And it may be that you just say one or two or three. It doesn't really matter. You're calling on love. You might bring to mind someone that you care about who's having a hard time right now. Just imagine you could bring them into the room. You're sensing the person who's disappointed or afraid, down on themselves, grieving something. And sense how that person lives in you, how when you consider that person, you can feel energetically their experience in you. You might imagine, just as you'd put your hand on a child's cheek, just imagine you could put your hand on that person's cheek. I'm sorry. Or it's okay, sweetheart. The comfort, the compassion. How you could send the message, I love you. And really sense that person, that part of you that's experiencing that person receiving it. I love you. And then thank you. Sensing how the sacred lives through that person. Thank you, thank you, thank you. May all beings awaken to the loving presence that is our essence. And may we live from that realization. May we behold that in each other. May all beings touch great and natural peace. May all beings awaken and be free. Namaste.